based at Harvard University and ran for about, oh no, I can't think how long, about 6 years. They produced some very good books, each chapter on different topics, many translating Korean scholars' works, so translations into English, also with some international scholars working on Korea as well. So these are the early Korea volumes, and I give these just as examples here. The volume on the Samham period, covering both, they're kind of like special journal volumes, if you will. It covers both the archaeology and the history, really excellent articles. So these can be really useful if you want to explore early Korea. If you want to make comparisons as well, this is kind of the place to look to. Okay, maybe I'll finish. There's so much more I could try and say on this topic, but I tried to finish with this master diagram that I spent a couple of days trying to put together to summarize some of the comparisons between early Korea and early Southeast Asia. So it's basically a more detailed version of the diagrams we were looking at before. So on the left side is early Korean periodization. On the right side, early Southeast Asia, with the focus very much informed by the two articles I mentioned there by Murphy's Proto-Dvaravadi and Heng's pre-Angkorian elites. So where I argue our comparisons are most useful, let's see if I can not destroy everything. On Korea, the central and southern Korean peninsula, so we're going to show up. So about this, and I think this compares well with what's going on in Murphy's and Heng's article. So within this broader scheme of history, I think this is where things are informative. So this takes us back to kind of what we said at the beginning.
Just lining up the information we get from Murphy and Heng's articles, we can see how the Proto-Dvaravadi period would align with the...
Just lining up the information we get from Murphy and Heng's articles, we can see how the Proto-Dvaravadi period would align with the pre-Angkorian period, pre-Angkorian elites, and these are the people who identified themselves as Bon and Maratan. Heng argues then for the earlier proto period going back into late prehistory. And then his third period of pre-Angkor is when you get the this very loaded term of Indianization, and we know the process is not so it's not just Indian culture being given to Southeast Asia. It's the adoption, autonomous adoption of some elements of Southeast Asian culture, such as religion and such as Sanskrit and Sanskrit titles, etc. So you get from this period the people in the area that's generally considered Junla now, the pre-Angkor area, they start using Sanskrit terms such as Brahman for their titles as some kind of king. In Shilla, we get a very similar process, and I got many slides that we're going to give all the details of how this happens. But basically, what I've marked here as Proto-Shilla, we have evidence for usage of indigenous local terms for the rulers. For example, they don't use the word king, or they don't use the Chinese word Wang, king, in this early period. They have indigenous Shilla terms, Isagum, Malebgan, and we know these from the transmitted tradition. And they also have from local epigraphy, we get the terminology of local elites. They have a title, Ganji. So we've got evidence for these indigenous titles. But around the year 500, the beginning of the 6th century, Shilla really starts to consolidate itself. very noticeably, the kings start to call themselves king using Chinese, the Wang. They adopt, so we've got some of the dates here. The dates in red represent earliest epigraphy, earliest inscriptions. So in Shilla, the earliest inscriptions, and these are with Chinese writing, are from this time, from the beginning of the 500s. We get the color, the number in gold or yellow is the date for the official adoption of Buddhism as the official religion. In Shilla, this occurs also in the same period, the early 6th century. If we look for these yellow dates for Pekche and Kogolyo, if we jump back, you see the yellow dates for Pekche is 384, for Kogolyo 372. That's the official adoption of Buddhism as the state religion. Of course, before then, Buddhism was already being practiced, but this is when the states declare themselves Buddhist and really start to sponsor Buddhism in the countries. So you see those kind of processes for Kogolyo and Pekche, they're